welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time to my channel, hi, my name is Sarah. I make a lot of special effects tutorials, mostly around Halloween time, some beauty tutorials, and a little bit of DIY in between. For today's video, we're going to be talking about Zodiac, specifically ColourPop. Shocker there. So I did buy this collection when it launched, the day it launched, but I wasn't going to do this video because I got it way too late in time. I literally got it probably about a week and a half ago to when I'm filming this video, maybe like actually 2 weeks ago to when I'm filming this video, which took far too long to actually get to me. It took almost 2 months to get to me, which is kind of absurd. I say this in almost every ColourPop video that I've made recently, where it's international shipping or something, it takes far too long to get out, and the box I got it in was pretty smashed up. But it was almost perfect timing considering the Zodiac collection just relaunched, and like I said, I wasn't going to do it because it took so long to get to me that it was almost like null and void, but because it has just recently relaunched, I thought it would honestly kind of be the perfect time to get into this once again, even though it is kind of old news. So I am wearing all of the Zodiac collection. That includes the Zodiac palette and then the pigments that are what this video is mainly about. But I thought it would be kind of fun because it is just strictly dealing with pigments in this collection that I maybe add in a little bit more extra color because pigments are kind of on the harder side to work with. I'm finding this out really recently. So I did want to add in a little bit of pressed powders. Hence the Zodiac palette. I'm starting out with my NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk as my base, as I do with every look, and then I'm coming in with the Libra as my transition color on a fluffy blending brush. This one's by ColourPop. Next up, I'm coming in with the Sagittarius, which is going to be the actual basic color of the eyelid. I'm just putting that all into my crease, blending it out quite a bit, and then putting it on the outer corner. I'm making the transition between the outer corner and the inner corner a little bit more cohesive just by blending it out further and taking a makeup wipe and basically starting out the graphic liner portion of this, and then taking Fair 00, which is a no filter concealer from ColourPop, and I'm cutting my crease. Then going back in with the Sagittarius is almost just like precision lining. Using the setting spray and then adding the pigment into the lid with the setting spray to make the mixture, I'm going in with the Maiden on the inner corner and then following that up with the Scales on the inner third, like the middle inner third. Continuing on down the lash line, I'm coming in with the Scorpion and then blending that out with more of the Libra. Once I've got that blended to my liking, I'm coming back in just with a little bit more of the Scorpion and then starting the graphic liner. Continuing on with a little bit of mascara and adding the Crab into the inner corner as my inner corner highlight. Now for my lip color, I'm going to actually be mixing these in because they did say in their launch video for this collection that you can mix these in with any kind of lip gloss or anything along those lines. And so I figured since I did purchase the Flying Colors lip vault that I would add in something like that. So just to see how this does go, I'm going to be mixing in the Archer with Starburst. I'm going to be mixing it on the back of my hand. Let's see how this applies. Oh wow. So getting to talk about the actual collection itself, specifically the actual pigments, because this video is super not about the shadows that I have on as well. If you do want to know about those, I will leave them in the description box down below for your viewing pleasure. So the Zodiac collection, I did want to talk like price points before we get too into this. It doesn't actually have that much to it. It does have obviously just the loose pigments to it, which are going to be the Scales, the Bull, the Twins, the Crab, the Maiden, the Lion, the Scorpion, the Ram, the Archer, the Goat, the Water Bear, the Fish. These do all retail for $6 each, which you can definitely buy these all separate as I stated, but they also come in one whole collection. The entire collection itself does cost $70, which gives you a savings of $2 if you were to buy all of them each separately. I did purchase this originally when it launched, and during that there was a promotion going on that if you bought the entire collection, or I think it was like $40 or more, you did get a free setting spray and a free packing brush, I believe. The ColourPop E3 brush. Now, I would have bought the entire collection anyways because that's kind of what I do on my channel and in life is I tend to buy an entire collection. It's almost the same kind of concept as when you start a show and then you just kind of have to finish it even if it's a crappy show. It's like my hair. Even if it's a crappy show, I always buy collections, especially from ColourPop and Lush, especially from Lush as well. It's a problem. I'm admitting this, but I'm not getting any help for it. So the setting spray that you get is obviously ColourPop exclusive, which is going to be the All-Star Matte and Blur Face Setting Spray. I don't know if that's the actual size of the full-on setting spray because I did just get it as a free sample. Although with that being said, I didn't receive the brush that was stated to get free. Obviously, I'm not like super complaining because it is a free product and they totally do not have to send us free product when we purchase anything of their collection. But it does kind of suck that they marketed it as getting a free brush and a free setting spray and they only delivered on the setting spray. I don't know if that was for everyone or just for me. Apparently, I'm really special in that department where I often don't get all of the collection or they're broken when they get to me. I think it's something about internationally shipping once again where it's got a long way to go. I did get the setting spray, so I appreciate that. So the description does state, get Kathleen's latest collab, the Zodiac Loose Pigment Collection in the most magical astrology birth chart inspired packaging, including all 12 new loose pigment shades and a lookbook featuring Kathleen's favorite ways to wear them. The book explains each sign with details on the ruling planets, houses, and elements. So this is the book that you receive, and I actually didn't know what this was and I hadn't even looked in it, but kind of cool. It just states the stars align and then it continues into what each thing is for. Like for example, March 21st to April 19th is the Ram, and then the Bull is April 20th to May 20th. Yes, me. The Twins are May 21st to June 20th, etc, etc, etc. And then during each one it just shows a picture of her, which I assume is wearing a shade that correlates. ColourPop did used to have quite a few pigments in their arsenal, although they did recently reformulate. Well, I guess not super recently. To us it's recently, to Kathleen Lights and anybody else doing any collaborations with them, it's probably not super recent, as collaborations take a while to go through. They did originally have the pigments, which I never picked them up personally because I don't particularly like pigments, although I hadn't really dabbled in them too much before, like actual just pigments themselves, not specifically ColourPops. I don't like pigments. I find them messy and they're a little bit too difficult for me personally to work with. I like pressed pigments or pressed shadows or pressed anything a lot better, even though they do have quite a bit of fallout. Pigments to me are basically like the fallout that you get with other eyeshadows if like you were to put that into a shadow itself, which I don't like fallout, so I don't really like pigments, but I definitely did really like the colors to this collection, so I did want to still pick them up for you guys to see and for me to play with, to see if I really did or didn't like pigments or if it's just like the idea of pigments that I didn't like. But it's kind of pigments that I don't like, kind of pigments. So from way back when, and I will link this in the description box down below if you guys want to see it as well, but the original video that they posted with Kathleen Lights trying this out basically just to introduce the launch, they did state that the best way to go about using these is to put a little bit of setting spray into the lid, take some of the pigment, put that in the lid with the shading brush, and then mix it together until you created the opacity that you want, and then apply it to wherever you want to apply it. It is a really cool idea. When I watched that video, I was like, that is a cool ass, and it is really, really cool, except for when you take into consideration the stick. And if you don't know what I mean by the stick, when you have a setting spray, it's meant to set makeup. That's exactly what it's meant for. That's its entire purpose on this planet, is to set the makeup. So it's gonna have, not a sticky base, but it's gonna have that setting capability. Now, this is not a huge, like, life-changing thing. It's just a little bit of a problem that I find is when you take the lid off of the rest of the component, after you've used it, the lid does get stuck every single time. I've used this one specifically in this makeup look a few times. Just opened it, put the lid back on, opened it, put the lid back on. Every single time, the lid is always, like, the little lid that actually, like, stays in there to keep all the product in, that is always in the actual lid itself. Which, again, it's not that big of a problem. You can get it out just like this. But I do find it to be kind of an extra unnecessary step. I wouldn't personally choose that if I were to be making a collection like this. I'm not sure if there's even a way to actually fix that besides maybe just like letting it dry down completely before you try to use it again. Although I will say that's a very smart idea versus their old packaging when you had to like, because it had the little chamber on it that was almost like a grinder kind of ish. Not that I would totally know at all what that is. So as we have stated all of my personal dilemmas during this collection, I do also want to mention just the packaging itself. So it is really cute. You do just get the little bit of a packaging and then it says Kathleen Lights X ColourPop, as it does on every single collection that they launch. They launch it with someone, insert name here, X ColourPop, and then it is a clear component so you can completely see the color that's inside of it. And then it just has stars and little dots all over it. It's all in rose gold. And then you open it up. It has a lid that they do recommend you mixing it in. It does have a little topper for the actual product itself so it doesn't come out, and then you just take that off and you got the color. Pretty easy, pretty simple, not really anything too insane for the packaging itself. I also did want to specify that this is multi-use. During their video they did state that not only can you use it as a pigment for on your eyes, but you can also use it for on your lips. So as I will state in the tutorial, I did mix Stardust, which is from their Flying Colors collection, with their glosses and mattes and satin lipsticks, along with the Archer. Now this consistency I am not too fond of. It's a really awkward consistency adding it into a gloss because you get that glossy feel that's also not only glossy, but really, really tacky, because any lip gloss that you use is going to be a little bit tacky. And then you have the slight grit from the pigments that you have mixed in. It is a really cool finish though. I would almost say something really cool to do with these is to mix two pigments in to almost create that duochromatic look to it. I think that would be a really cool little situation to put your lips onto, or onto your lips. That sounded weird. So the big question is, would I purchase this again? I would probably not purchase any pigments from ColourPop again. I find them, not just from ColourPop, just in general, I find pigments to be extremely hard to work with, even with the little tips and tricks that they have provided. I don't really like how they perform, and I don't know how I could maybe like mix them in to perform a little bit better. Swatching them is really, really nice. Of course it is, because you don't have to play around with them. You don't have to make them suit to your fancy. You just do one simple swatch and you're good to go. I don't like pigments, and I wouldn't pick up this collection if it launched again if I didn't already have it in my arsenal. These are almost on the same level of like I wouldn't get them as the ColourPop Ultra Matte Lips, where it's like it's nice in a collection because I have a shopping problem and again, not getting help. I'm limiting myself ever so slightly. It is a cool idea that you can mix them in with a lip gloss, but for their actual full-on purpose of going onto your eyes, I don't personally like them. I like pressed shadows, pressed pigments. But that is it for today's video, and I do hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys!